The puppy's cries were not the kind that asked for food or attention. They were desperate. Broken. Urgent. On the edge of an abandoned construction site, beneath a sky heavy with evening clouds, a tiny baby puppy stood near a deep, dark pit and barked with everything his small body had. His paws were muddy. His fur trembled in the cold wind. But he refused to move away. Because from the bottom of that pit came a faint, weakening sound. A mother cat was trapped below. Her name, though no one there knew it yet, was Luna. She had fallen into the unfinished drainage shaft while searching for scraps to feed her newborn kittens hidden nearby in a pile of dry grass. The pit was nearly 12 feet deep, its sides steep and lined with loose dirt and broken bricks. She had tried to climb out again and again, claws scraping, body slipping, until exhaustion forced her to stop. Her kittens were waiting. And now, so was death. The little puppy, whom local children sometimes called Milo, had been wandering alone since losing his own mother weeks earlier. He survived by scavenging leftovers and sleeping under parked trucks. Hunger was familiar. Loneliness was worse. That evening, he had heard Luna's cry. At first, he had been afraid. The construction site was dangerous, filled with sharp metal and strange smells. But the sound pulled him closer. When he peered over the edge and saw the frightened cat below, their eyes met. Two small creatures, both alone in a world too big. Luna hissed weakly at first. She expected danger. Dogs were not friends. But this puppy didn't growl. He didn't bark angrily. He simply tilted his head and let out a soft whimper. Then he started barking. Loudly. Relentlessly. Again and again, Milo ran from the pit to the nearby road, barking at passing motorcycles and pedestrians. Most people ignored him. Some shooed him away. One man even threw a small stone in irritation. But Milo didn't stop. He ran back to the pit, checked on Luna, then ran again toward the road. His paws bled slightly from broken glass. His breathing became heavier. Still, he barked. Nearly an hour passed. The sky darkened. Luna's meows grew weaker. And then, finally, someone noticed. An elderly street vendor named Rahim was packing up his cart when the tiny puppy grabbed the edge of his loose trousers and tugged. Not playfully. Desperately. Milo barked, ran a few steps, turned back, barked again. Rahim frowned. "What is it, little one?" Milo ran toward the construction site. Something in the puppy's urgency felt different. Rahim followed. When they reached the pit and Rahim looked down, his heart dropped. "Ya Allah," he whispered. He could barely see the cat at the bottom, curled weakly against the dirt wall. Without wasting time, Rahim called his nephew Sammy, who lived nearby. Within minutes, Sammy arrived with a rope and a flashlight. The challenge was real. The pit was narrow. The soil was unstable. Climbing down could cause a collapse. Sammy tied the rope around his waist while Rahim secured the other end to a sturdy metal beam. Slowly, carefully, Sammy descended. Dirt crumbled under his shoes. The air felt heavy and suffocating. Milo stood at the edge, watching every movement. When Sammy finally reached Luna, she tried to hiss again, but her voice barely came out. She didn't fight when he gently wrapped her in his jacket. "Easy, girl," he murmured. The climb back up was harder. Twice, Sammy's foot slipped. Twice, Rahim tightened the rope with all his strength. Milo barked anxiously, pacing in circles. Finally, Sammy reached the top. Rahim pulled Luna into his arms. For a moment, everything was still. Then Milo stepped forward. Slowly. Cautiously. He sniffed Luna's face. She opened her eyes. And instead of fear, she blinked softly. The tension between dog and cat dissolved in that quiet exchange. They were not enemies. They were survivors. But the rescue was only half the battle. Luna was dehydrated and weak. Rahim insisted on taking her to a nearby veterinarian clinic that was still open. Milo followed them the entire way, refusing to be left behind. At the clinic, the vet confirmed what they feared: Luna was severely exhausted and had minor internal bruising from her fall. She needed rest, warmth, and food. And her kittens? Sammy asked. That's when they realized. The kittens were still out there. Luna, despite her weakness, tried to stand when she heard the word. She let out a fragile cry. Milo reacted instantly. He ran toward the direction of the grass pile where he had first heard faint squeaks earlier that evening. Sammy followed him. Hidden under cardboard and dry weeds were 3 tiny kittens, eyes barely open, shivering. Without their mother, they wouldn't have survived the night. They were carefully brought to the clinic and reunited with Luna. Even in her fragile state, she began cleaning them immediately, her maternal instinct stronger than her pain. Milo watched from a distance. For the first time since losing his own mother, he wasn't alone in the world. Over the next few weeks, Rahim and Sammy cared for all of them. Luna recovered slowly. The kittens grew stronger each day. And Milo, well, he never left their side. At first, Luna was cautious. But Milo proved himself again and again. He guarded the kittens while Luna rested. He barked at stray dogs that wandered too close. He even shared his food. The kittens grew up believing the small brown puppy was their big brother. One afternoon, as the sun painted the sky gold, Rahim watched the unlikely family playing in his courtyard, 3 bouncing kittens chasing Milo's tail while Luna rested peacefully nearby. Sammy smiled. Who would have thought a tiny puppy would save a whole family? Rahim nodded thoughtfully. Bravery doesn't depend on size. Months later, all 4 animals were adopted, together, by a kind schoolteacher who had heard their story from the clinic. She refused to separate them. In their new home, they had soft beds, regular meals, and a garden to explore. The kittens grew into playful young cats. Luna became calm and trusting. And Milo? He became the heart of the home. The little puppy who once cried alone beside a pit had found his purpose, not just in surviving, but in saving others. The story spread through the neighborhood, inspiring many to look differently at the stray animals around them. If a tiny puppy could fight so fiercely for another life, what excuse did humans have to look away? Because courage is not about strength. It's about refusing to ignore someone else's pain. It's about barking until someone listens. It's about running back and forth, even when your paws hurt, because giving up is not an option. And sometimes, the smallest voice carries the biggest hope. In a world that often feels indifferent, one brave baby puppy reminded everyone that compassion can echo louder than fear, and that even the most unlikely hero can change everything. And somewhere, in a warm little house filled with laughter and paws and purring, that hero sleeps peacefully now, knowing he once saved a mother's life.